All right, what's up? So, this is episode 2 of the Never Drop podcast. I don't know if I'm going to keep numbering the episodes like that, but, it's the second one, so we'll roll with it for now. But, last time I was talking about how, with fights coming up and everything, I'd love to break down fights, just talk about chances winning, different fights, and just kind of, you know, a fight week's a big week, so talking about that. So, this weekend, December 10th, it's a big fight happening. Well, a lot of people would say differently if it's a big fight or not, but a big name fighter is fighting this weekend. That's Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford will be fighting in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, against, no, not Earl Spence. We all know this. David Avanesyan. Of course, this has been to the dismay of a lot of boxing fans, but hey, man, it's the first time Crawford's getting in the ring for about a little over a year. So for a guy that's, number one on a lot of pound for pound rankings, I mean, hey man, we're seeing a current great in boxing fight. And granted, I'm not the biggest Crawford fan. I told y'all Earl's my favorite fighter. But, you love to see good boxing. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about the fight that's coming up this weekend. I rewatched the Crawford Crawford versus Sean Porter fight. It's been obviously, it happened over a year ago. So, rewatching it, I was like, I totally forgot. This was kind of how the fight went. And then I watched a couple of David Avanesyan's fights, mainly the sixth round win against Josh Kelly. That really kind of catapulted him into, I guess, the contender contender or eliminator. I always forget about the wording. Always confuses me. But a name that fight put him in as a name for eventually would come this Crawford fight. So we'll look at both sides of it. See talk about Crawford's strengths, what he needs to do. Kind of looking at that Porter fight, what he did poorly and what he can try to avoid against Avanesyan. And Avanesyan, man, for him to pull off this upset, what he needs to do, and take advantage of the Crawford weaknesses. And of course, I'll make my prediction, tell you what I'm thinking. But all that being said, let's get straight into it. All right, so looking back at Terence Crawford's last fight, of course, I just mentioned Sean Porter. Fought Kell Brook the previous fight before that, but Sean Porter, arguably one of Crawford's biggest / best wins, I'd say. Sean Porter's all the credit in the world. He's a warrior. Honestly, if Spence doesn't drop Porter in the 12th or 11th round, excuse me, and it wasn't even a drop. It just caught him for a split second, and his glove, unfortunately, for Porter touched the ground, and that was all she wrote. That gave Spence enough room on the scorecard. It could have been a draw otherwise. He fought Adrian Broner back in, that was what, 2016, 2017, back when AB was, still a name. He had taken a loss to Maidana, but was still a name. If he won that fight, he was back on track in the welterweight division. But that was an not up and coming, but a younger Sean Porter that took care of him. But, we're not talking about Sean Porter right here. We're talking about Crawford. So Crawford fighting Porter, that, it's a great fight for him. Rewatching this fight, I totally forgot. I wouldn't say Porter, not at all. I wouldn't say he dominated. But Porter won a lot more rounds than I remember because, of course, if you do remember this fight, the ending was Crawford catching a Porter with a short uppercut that dropped him for the first time. And then I'd say 45 seconds or so later, Crawford caught him again with a right hook to the head, and Porter went down for the second time of the round. And, you remember you see him, he's visibly angry, banging on the canvas in the ring. And gets up, he's ready to fight, but Sean's father, Kenny Porter, goes ahead and doesn't throw the towel in, but his ref says the fight's off. Of course, that's also his trainer, his father. So, while it was a TKO for Crawford, it was not a dominant TKO. It wasn't, it was breaking him down. He was getting hit. Crawford was definitely getting hit. But, just looking at it, Crawford, that was the 10th round he finished the fight. I had Crawford winning up to the 10th, 5 of the round. So I had him up in the score. I rescored it, of course. I forgot about all the rounds and all the action in it. So it was kind of good having a quote-unquote fresh pair of eyes, a year later on it. Going through it. One thing that was very noticeable for me was how much success Porter had on the inside of Crawford. Pause. The way Crawford had the reach on him, I believe he had the height on him as well. I believe it'll be the same for this fight against Avanesyan. But Porter, and this is all credit to him because this is Porter as a fighter as well. Him being a warrior, he was taking the fight to Crawford. And of course, Crawford's, like him or not, he's top 3 in the welterweight division. And, top 2 in the welterweight division, top 3 in potentially all of boxing. Okay? So, of course, he's going to have to, he's going to have the fight brought to him. He doesn't have to go necessarily try and press on the gas against, not a lesser opponent, but, someone he should take care of. But Porter brought the fight to him. He got him on the inside. He was clipping him with uppercuts. Like early in the fight, you see Porter's working the jab on him, and that's I wouldn't say unusual, but different tactic you see because, Porter didn't have the reach on him, which Avanesyan, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I think if he does use the jab, he'll be able to keep Crawford at length, but I don't know if that's his best bet. Here's why. Because when Crawford in that Porter fight was fighting from the outside, that's when he was hitting his power shots. Of course, on the inside, they get close. Crawford, I'm talking about Porter was hitting this, Porter was hitting that. Crawford was getting some shot. He was hitting some shots. Excuse me. There was a couple times, I'm forgetting what round it was exactly, but there was one round where Porter was probably glad the bell rang when it rang, because it looked like for a second it had him dazed. If there's 30 more seconds in the round, Crawford might have teed off and got him one. Eventually, he'd obviously get 1 and 2 later on in the fight. But, Crawford, early in these rounds, we always, watching Floyd Mayweather, they always like to say he computes, he'll see what his opponent's doing, how's his plan of attack going to be, he'll take a few rounds. Well, that's what Crawford was doing, Porter was the fighter. He was more aggressive, more, I'd say, elusive. He was, on his feet, light on his feet, going around, just trying to trap Crawford in the corner. Early in those first 2-3 rounds, every time Porter got in, Crawford was smart. He, would clinch, hold him. That's what it was. But the times Crawford wouldn't flush him, Porter was hitting him with flush shots to the face, to the body, on the inside. But, of course, Crawford's a pro. He's taken some. A couple of them did affect him, I think. A couple of them stung him, but kept moving forward. It wasn't until, personally for me, I'd say the 6th round, that Crawford really was like, all right, I know what I'm doing, The previous round, in the 5th, Porter had been absolutely dominant. Except the last 10 to 20 seconds, Crawford, from the outside, threw a jab and then a quick power, I believe it was 2 feint jabs and then a power punch that I think this was the round he landed that I was talking about how Porter's having the bell rang because Porter had easily won this fight, but I think Crawford might have had the best punch of that round. Whatever. But to see how Porter was able to get on the inside, not just so easy how it was, but just how much success he was having on the inside, getting those uppercuts, getting those flush shots. I think that could be something Crawford needs to watch out for in the weakness. Strength-wise and a way to win for Crawford, there's a million ways for Crawford to win this fight. He's the better fighter. We expect him to win this fight. If he doesn't win this fight, that would be one heck of a upset in boxing, and I'm sure would cause a lot of Twitter drama. Not drama, I hate using that word. A lot of Twitter talk from a lot of fighters that, give me a lot of content to cover over this next week. But one way Crawford wins this fight is, way I see, watching Avanesyan. He really keeps the high guard. He likes to put his hands up, cover his face. I don't know if y'all listening play, Wii Boxing or those apps on your phone, boxing apps on your phone. And it's always, cover. So you're covering with, both hands over your face. I don't know, kind of like you're Wolverine or something, having your claws out, ready to attack, right? But Avanesyan has both arms, honestly, over his head, leaving his body so wide open. Like just thinking about the damage Crawford can do just from hitting the body. It might be a short night off of body punches. And seeing this, you hit him with a couple jabs to the body, get him, make him feel it. Eventually, he's gonna put a hand down, pop, or power to the head. You know what I'm saying? Or just if you want to get on, I am saying Crawford get on the inside, but if you get close enough to the inside, you hit a body shot, Avanesyan reacts, then comes an opportunity, power to the head. Going back to the Porter fight, 8th round, looking at it, that was a clear domination from Crawford. And I noted this, he used mainly body punches in that round. So this is why I was like, after seeing the Avanesyan film, I was like, he really could just do a lot of damage to the body, and it might be a hard night for Avanesyan. Another way, I spoke about this earlier, stay your distance. Of course, it's his first fight back in a year. Do not rush things, because while, I know Avanesyan had a couple knockouts the past couple fights. His last fight ended in the first round. The guy, no disrespect, but his last opponent was worse than the Josh Kelly opponent. And that was the Kelly fight was supposed to take him up a notch, and then for some reason, promoting-wise, I'm not sure, he took a step back with that fight, opponent-wise. Knock a dude out in the first round, you don't take a step back, but opponent-wise, it wasn't his best matchup. But, Crawford stays patient, is tactical, works the body, stays at a distance, gets close at times, you get in there, quick body punches, look for an uppercut, because the uppercut is what did Porter in that first knockdown, right? It wasn't even, when I think about uppercuts, I think, Mike Tyson, long range uppercut, or a Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz uppercut, brings it in. No, it was a short uppercut, because Porter had lunged. And that's another thing that I see similarities in the Porter and Avanesyan fight game. They both lunge when they punch. Honest, them, that isn't a fair judgment to say of both of their careers, and they lunge every punch. But in the Porter versus Crawford fight, that's where Crawford got the knockdown. He got it off because Porter lunged in, didn't protect himself. Crawford in with that short uppercut, bang, he's on the canvas. You know what I'm saying? Avanesyan lunge, he takes damage, and that's what I'm looking at for Crawford, because Josh Kelly, with all due respect, I don't think he has the same power as Bud Crawford, Terence Crawford. So I think that Crawford stays patient, not waits his turn necessarily, but doesn't rush out there to try and get a knockdown first 3 rounds, to say, oh, Earl, you're scared, or if he fights, how Bud fights, he knows he's one of the best fighters in the world, right? So I don't know. I think Crawford has, a really great shot to win this. He just has to keep out from getting into that quick mistake. That's, don't rush in there trying to make something happen. Let the fight come to you. You're the guy. Avanesyan's going to pressure you. That's what he does. He likes to pressure. And, this would be a perfect segue into how I think Avanesyan can do. I told you how Porter had success on the inside. I think that's Avanesyan's game plan for this fight. You get on the inside. Because one thing that I did notice is that, David Avanesyan will take some damage. And I know I just mentioned on it, Crawford's power is probably different than these other guys he's fighting power. But, if, say, he gets in there first 4 rounds, and you're seeing, he's eating these punches. You're going to be like, okay, that's going to build confidence for Avanesyan. And I think for him, you get out early, because Crawford likes to compute, like I was saying. You get out early, you steal some rounds, that puts a little pressure on Crawford in the Porter fight. Standing up in the 10th, I believe his trainer told him, you're down on the cards. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this clip. He tells him right as the bell's about to ring, yo, you're down on the cards. And Crawford goes, I'm down? He's like, yeah. You see Crawford's eyes lock? Like, I don't know if you guys know the picture of, it's kind of the meme of when LeBron was Game 6 against the Celtics in 2012, when he's just, like, locked in. Like, eye of the tiger eyes. That's what Crawford had, So you put pressure on him like that. Granted, things might, go similar to the Porter fight, and you might be, 2 minutes later, congratulating him on a nice knockout. But you got to put pressure on him. Otherwise, it'll be a very smooth and easy night. You don't want to box from a distance if you're Avanesyan. That's really where I'm looking at it, because the reason he beat Kelly, I wouldn't say the reason he did, but one of the main reasons I seen was because Kelly decided, for some reason, he was really dominating from the outside. He decided to take the fight on the inside, and on the broadcast, the announcers noticed it. They're like, why is he going inside? He's taking more damage when he's there, because that's where Avanesyan is more confident. This is where David started breaking down Kelly. This is getting more strength each round, while Kelly was losing strength. So I think if he does that, what I'd like to see is, Avanesyan in that fight, he started, slow. He was getting hit a lot. Then he built up speed. Or strength, not speed. Crawford versus Porter, he started off slow for a good amount of rounds. And then he kept building strength. So who's going to get to that fast start and win those first couple rounds? Because if Crawford wins those first couple rounds, with his boxing ability, he can, say he wins the first 3 rounds, okay? He wins those first 3 rounds, he can coast to a victory. He can absolutely coast. He doesn't need to go on the inside once. He can fight from the outside, jab, power punch here. Be tactical, hit accurately against Avanesyan. So, if you're David Avanesyan, you cannot give up those first 3 rounds. You got to try and go get those. Get on the inside. Make him feel uncomfortable. That's what Porter really was trying to do. He was trying to make him feel uncomfortable. He was trying to trap Crawford in the corner. And while sometimes it didn't work, sometimes he got flush shots and hit him in the face. Got Crawford paying attention, like, oh crap, I gotta really pick it up. So if you're Avanesyan, you really need to go ahead and try and push this fight to the inside. A weakness, I talked about this earlier, but he has to watch out for lunging for shots, because that's what did Porter in, was he lunged for shots and he got popped. You can't be doing that if you're David Avanesyan, because Porter, we all can agree, he's a better fighter than Avanesyan, right? His head movements probably better. Defense, I'd say better than Avanesyan. So, he was able to duck out a good amount of shots that he leaned in for. I haven't seen enough from Avanesyan to say the same. You can duck in and out of those shots. So, he needs to be really careful about how he goes about fighting. He needs to be tactical. Take your chances when they're there. Don't force your chances. With that, that's really my breakdown of how the fight's going to go. I don't know. Prediction-wise, I'm going Crawford, man. I want to say TKO in the 9th. Crawford TKO in the 9th. I just feel like he can really do some damage to Avanesyan, especially with the body. If that's one thing you hear from me, if he can attack the body, I think this can be relatively short night. We can turn on some, well, I guess college football isn't this Saturday. You can turn on Saturday Night Live and you're not missing. You didn't miss any skits because, this was a short night. I don't know. I don't watch SNL, very much, so I don't even know why I just used that. But if you watch SNL, I feel like you'll be good. Avanesyan-wise, personally, I want to find a way to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he won this fight. No, I promise you I'd be surprised. I'd come on here next week and be like, wow, it would really leave me speechless, shell-shocked if he won this fight, especially being in Omaha, being in Crawford's hometown. I think, all signs point to this being an early night. One thing I will say, this is unrelated to, I guess, the fight, fighting tactics or whatever. You just wonder if Crawford, and this is, looking kind of deep into it, I don't think he's overlooking Avanesyan. There's no reason I'd believe that. I just wonder because every press conference he's getting asked about Spence. He's getting asked about, this fight. I haven't heard a lot of questions about Avanesyan. When I have, it's, we haven't heard about this dude. Why'd you pick him? It hasn't been like, he does this well, how are you going to react? No, we've heard, I don't know this dude. Why'd you pick him? So, with all that, I have Crawford TKO 9th round. Wouldn't be surprised if it's earlier. Got to watch out for the body if you're Avanesyan. For Crawford, watch out on the inside. Stay your length. Stay patient. Hit those jabs, then power punch, counter. Power punch. Counter when he's on the inside. Don't be afraid to clinch. Tie him up. But truthfully, I think this can be short night. We might be able to tune into the Teofimo Lopez fight. Not miss too much of that. So, either way, if you're a Crawford fan, Crawford hater, whatever, hey, we're seeing a great boxer fight this weekend, okay? So I'm excited. Granted, I'd have loved to see him fight Earl Spence, November 19th, and I'd be on here talking about the results of that and everything. It's what it is at this point. Hopefully that fight gets made. I wouldn't bet on it. Hopefully it does. Who knows? But this is where we're at. We're seeing Crawford fight for the first time in over a year. So, be excited for that. Appreciate y'all tuning in, listening. I just wanted to try this out, man. I'm a big boxing guy. It was fun rewatching that Porter Crawford fight because, like I mentioned, like I said, you always think of the Porter's dad throwing in the towel. You think of Porter, getting knocked down. But Porter put a heck of a fight together versus Crawford. So it was fun rewatching that. Avanesyan, well, I don't know too much about him. And granted, I don't think too many people do. Hopefully, he's coming out here to prove something. A lot of people, as soon as fight announced, he's getting a lot of hate directed his way, because his name isn't Earl Spence. So, not even like, hey, bro, you suck at fighting. It's, you're not Earl Spence, bro. Like, we don't want this. So, he can easily come out here and prove a point, prove it on one of the biggest stages, against one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. So, can't take anybody lightly. We know this in boxing, One shot can end a night, and that goes for both sides. So, with all that said, appreciate y'all for tuning in, listening to that kind of preview, prediction of the fight on Saturday. I believe it's on BLK Prime. I don't know exactly what time or the undercard, but tune in, man. Next week, soon after, I'll probably cover the fight. I'll talk about the fight. I want to preview the Frank Martin fight on December 17th. I think I'm excited for that fight, and then come the holidays, then we get Tank Davis on January 7th on a stacked card. When I tell you a stacked card, I'm excited to see Boots fight. He added Lamont Peterson, a couple other names on there. I'm pumped for January 7th is going to be. If I wasn't on break, I'd be, trying to go to that fight in DC. But we'll definitely, road gets there, we'll talk about that fight. It'll be a super good fight, super entertaining one. But right here, December 10th, we're looking at Terence Crawford, man. Your name's been in the news all over. Let's see what you have, man. We haven't seen you in a year. Just prove that you're one, prove to us, hey, man, I'm still one of the best, man. Y'all want to talk about this other stuff, y'all go ahead. Tonight, I'm one of the best. So, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to coming back, talking to y'all. Appreciate y'all listening. If you made it this far, man, if you have friends that enjoy boxing, share the podcast, let them know. I'm just out here talking boxing, man. Appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.